I'll try to look for it again and send it to you. But I'll have to go now. Actually, already past the 5 minutes.
All right.
Maybe you can be on another day. I don't know when you're free.
Sure.
But maybe tomorrow, some other time, we can talk more about this. It was nice talking to you, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can pick up from here.
Okay.
Cool.
I can pick up from here somewhat.
Sure.
I agree with his position. But it seems like it was all over the place. You said it was the Kalam.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like there was a lot of different arguments mixed in, because you were talking about necessary beings and contingent beings and cause and uncaused. And
Well, I guess for clarity,
as well.
for your position, I guess if you're going to just undertake the Kalam, something we didn't clarify, or actually even get to clarifying, which is going to be like vital, is what's going to be the model causation you're working under.
All right. Well, I prefer to use the argument for motion, personally.
Oh, so you're not arguing the Kalam?
Oh, excuse me. Well, they're all really similar. I prefer the argument for motion.
Well, to get clear, I don't understand. Are you not arguing the Kalam?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. So what's the argument for motion?
Do you want the simple or the long version?
Just give a simple and then maybe the inference.
Okay, the simple one, obviously there's going to be holes here because it's the simple one, but it gets the idea across. The simple one is pretty much things are moved. In order for something to be moved, it must be moved by something else. This something else is either moved or unmoved. If it was... hold on. If there's always another that moves and is itself moved, it forms...
Oh, Håkon, my Catholic friend, what's going on? Are you running like the horrible...
Hold on.
Aristotelian Thomistic arguments? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, he is, but...
they're not horrible. They're not horrible at all.
No, I explained to you why they were horrible last time, Håkon. I thought you did your research.
I think they're still good.
Okay.
All right, let's go through them. I'm gonna explain you why each of them is horrible. Give me the premise, conclusion form of the one you're running right now.
Well, this is the simplified version of the...
No, give me the complex version. I'll give me the simplified version, and I'll tell you why this argument...
Wait, this guy wanted the simple version.
Yeah, I want the complex version. I'm not this guy. I'm the
other guy.
You're a spoiled kid.
No, what I asked for was the simple outline and then the inference.
The fuck? If I'm asking you to give me like the full version, am I spoiled?
Yeah, but this guy, I'm talking to another guy, right?
Sorry, the other guy, do you mind that I interject?
I guess that's fine.
Yeah, there we go. Now, can you give me the full version? So I can tell you why this Thomistic argument is retarded? In fact,
sure.
I didn't even know basic metaphysics. Like last time, I had to explain to him why Aristotelians are realists about potentiality, and that inflates your ontology. So like by most standards, we wouldn't want to be Aristotelians, because Aristotelian inflates your ontology by being realists about potentiality. He didn't even know that potentiality in the Aristotelian view was like a realist thing, that you take it that it's something that has ontological status. This guy isn't even well read in Thomism. That's the embarrassing thing. And he's going around trying to debate people. Like, I know more about Thomism than this guy, and this guy claims to be a Thomist Catholic. Which is embarrassing for the Norwegian people, because Norwegians are like all atheists now, and this guy is like a dumbass who actually buys into these arguments. So like a fellow Norwegian, I feel embarrassed by you. Du en skam for oss norske folk fordi du tror på dette tullet her.
Wait.
Var det ikke du som ga meg sånn drapstrussel en gang?
Yeah, Venus, it sounds like you've already destroyed this guy. Can we hear like monkeyboy take him on?
Sorry, do you want monkey? I don't mind letting like monkeyboy take him on, but if you want like the detailed explanation of why these Thomistic arguments fail, I can give you that. But if you rather watch monkeyboy debate him, I'll just mute up. Go ahead, monkeyboy.
All right.
But I just want you to know why this guy doesn't know anything about the arguments that he's running, and he's not well read on Aristotelianism either. So like this guy's gonna like butcher the arguments he's trying to run. So I just want to give you that.
Okay, show me how I'm butchering the argument.
You didn't even know that the Aristotelian arguments require to be a realist about potentiality. You were like ignorant of that fact, and that butchers the argument, because if somebody is not a realist about potentiality, they're not gonna have the necessary preconditions to run this argument. They're just going to deny any premise that requires potentiality.
Well, you have
Just
to
say-
accept potentiality.
No, you don't. I don't accept
Yes, you do.
potentiality.
Well, that's really. I mean, you couldn't account for change then, which is.
I can account for change by modality. I don't need potentiality. I can account for change by possible world semantics. Do you know what possible world semantics is?
No, what is that?
Exactly, you're a
What?
dumbass. You
Wait.
buy into these classical
he
arguments
said
that
he doesn't know it.
oh,
Then
the
just
way
explain it to him. You don't
Aristotle
need to
solved
insult
the
him
problem,
for
the
that. I
Parmenian
mean,
problem
come
of
on.
change is by positing potentiality. Yes, that was a classical ancient solution to change. There is like more modern solutions that don't require to be a real about potentiality. What is change? Change is what is a change? Change is like a predicate being applied to the subject at some point in time that's not applied at a later point of time, or vice versa. A predicate wasn't true of a subject, and then it becomes true of a subject at a later time. And now, how do you apply predication? It's going to be by modality. It is possible for this subject to have this predicate. That means it can have it at like a later time. And a later time, it happens so that the subject had the predicate. That's how you account for change. You account for change in terms of predicate and possible world semantics. You don't need potentiality. You don't need to be a realist about potentiality and saying the reason why Moxie became an adult is because when he was a child, there was something inside of him that was like ontologically real that we call potentiality, and he had the potentiality of being an adult. You don't need that. You just say something
Well,
like,
do you know?
"It is possible.
hold on.
It is possible for Moxie Boy to grow." That possibility is construed in terms of predicates, so it's not going to be something that resides inside of Moxie Boy, and that predicate can be true at a later time. And there's no contradiction in saying that at time t, Moxie doesn't
Short
have this
question.
predicate, but at a later time, Moxie doesn't have
David101
this
and
predicate.
iPod
You've
used
accounted for change without any ontological commitment. It's just in terms of logic and predication. You don't even need to be a
Okay,
realist
can I
about
talk?
properties to account for change.
Okay, my turn, or okay.
It's only going to be like
hold on.
retarded scholastics and Aristotelians and Thomists who are unfamiliar with like analytic philosophy, who's going to say like dumbass things like, oh, you need potentiality to account for like change. I just gave you an
yeah.
account that accounts. I tell you what. Show me the problem with the account that I just gave you that has zero ontological commitment.
I think it has a problem when you actually try to explain what it is. You're just.
Sorry, what
you're
was the
just
problem with
talking
my
descriptively.
explanation? So what's
Well,
the problem?
I would say it doesn't go deep. Basically, is what I'm.
So
saying.
what does it mean to go deep? Why my explanation doesn't go deep enough?
Well, let me explain.
I'll tell you
the
what. Can you
problem.
repeat
Let me
my
explain the
explanation?
problem. Let me explain the problem.
Repeat my explanation because you feel like
Sure. I'll explain
Yes.
the problem. I'll explain the problem.
No.
So-
Don't explain the
so-
problem. Explain the account that I gave first. I just want to make because I'm doubting that you even understood anything that I said. So explain first what I said before you give the problem.
Okay,
Yourself,
so
can
what I
yourself,
understood
yourself,
from what you
yourself.
said was that you define change as there is some truth to be predicated of a subject at one
I
point in
explained
time,
change as predication
and
change.
then at another point in time, that truth may not be true, or vice versa, of any particular subject. Right?
So what that truth is going to be a proposition about predication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
why doesn't that explain change?
I mean, you're describing change in a certain way, right? It is true that some
Yeah, why isn't that
truth,
sufficient to
some
account
truth
for
about
change?
a thing changes.
Yeah, why doesn't that suffice to account for change?
Well, the main issue is, it doesn't really explain anything. You're just saying some truth
How
about
doesn't
the
that
thing
explain
changes.
something more than the Aristotelian account explains things? First,
Well, the
what do you
classic
think?
question.
First,
the
no.
classic
Before
question-
before
hold
we
on,
get
why do
into
you
this, what do you think an
constantly interrupt me?
explanation
It's
is?
really annoying, dude.
What do you think an explanation is?
Explanation is a way we understand or try to understand something.
No. You said that doesn't explain thing. When you use the word explain, then what do you mean by that? Because I understand that account. You seem to understand that account. So if
Well, yeah, I
explanation is
understand
if explanation is merely understanding, you would understand that account. But it still says it seems like you want to dispute that while you understand it doesn't explain.
Well, I'm not even getting my argument off the ground because you constantly interrupt.
No, because I don't think you have an account. But I'm curious to understand what do you think explanation
Well,
is.
if you were
I don't-
curious, you
sorry,
would allow
sorry.
me to speak.
An
right?
understanding is going to be an effect of an explanation. I want to know
I
what
think
an
most
explanation
people
is.
who are
from your
actually
view.
curious to hear would let a man speak.
Sorry, I want to know. Sorry, do you know what the difference between an explanandum and an explanans is?
No.
Okay, so explanans is the thing that explains. Explanandum is the thing that seeks to be explained. And this has nothing to do with
Wait, I
understanding.
didn't get
What
the
I'm curious
difference. Say that
about
again?
is like what kind of a relationship do you think applies between explanandum and explanans? Do you think it's inferential or non-inferential?
You're talking really fast. Can you slow down?
Do you think that the relationship between explanans and explanandum is an inferential one or a non-inferential one. Was that slow enough for you?
Oh wait, you need to go back. What was the distinction between the two terms?
Explanans is the proposition that explains. Explanandum is the proposition that we seek to explain. And usually the way we cash it out in philosophy
I still don't get. I don't get that.
Sorry, you don't
Hold on.
understand that like one proposition
Explanand-
explains and the other proposition is the one that is explained? Is that like
Okay,
two
so I'm
half
reading it right now.
percent?
Hold on, I'm just gonna read it quickly.
Yeah, what's going on, Marco?
Hey Venus, what's up?
Okay, so for example,
this, like,
one
retarded,
person may pose an
wannabe
explanandum
Thomist
by
guy
asking
doesn't
why is
understand what
there
an
smoke,
explanation is right
and
now.
another may provide an explanans by responding because there is a fire. In this example, smoke
I don't
is
want
the explanandum
no.
and fire is the
Nobody gives a
explanans.
shit about examples because the examples doesn't give you the necessary and jointly sufficient conditions. What I'm asking you about is what do you take an explanation to be? I don't want examples. I want an analysis. Because examples are going to be underdetermined. There's a number of ways to explain the fire example. So if you say, well, the reason why there's a fire in the building is explained by somebody, like somebody burned something, that is underdetermined. There's like a million ways of giving an account of the relationship between the fire and between the object of fire, the object that causes fire and the fire. What I'm asking you about is an analysis. What do you think explanations are? And you don't have an account because you're like a retarded Thomist who just like reads blog posts and regurgitates what he hears. You haven't done any serious philosophy in your life. That's the problem here. And what I'm asking you about, because what you try to say is like it doesn't go deep enough, and going deep enough isn't anything. That doesn't refer to anything. The point is explanations is going to entail explanandum. And there's a way to present this once we have like a rigorous definition of what the explanandum is, what is change. Change merely seems to be predicate loss or predicate gain. And if that's the case, then standard first order logic suffices to account for that. Because and you can even add, if that doesn't suffice, you can just use like Pryor's temporal logic and you're going to account for that. And that's not like ontologically committing in any way. You could just say change is merely a temporal notion in which at one time X has predicate F, and at a later time, X doesn't have that predicate. And now you have change. Without committing yourself to things like potentiality realism or power realism or anything.
You have to do that. I think you have to.
Why?
Well, can I give the argument now?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the argument would be, it would go something like, if you reject potentiality as a thing, like even as like it doesn't exist in any way, there seems to only be quote unquote actuality or existing.
So I don't accept actuality. I don't accept these Aristotelian categories. There's no such thing as potentiality and actuality in my view. Actuality for me just means what exists. And what exists can change by gaining or losing a predicate.
That's what I said. I just said that. Hold on.
Gaining or losing a predicate just is going to be accounted for by logic.
Who's the room owner? Who's controlling this conversation?
I'm the room owner.
Oh, that explains a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's not going to be the case. Sorry, it's not going to be the case if you reject potentiality. You only have actuality in the Aristotelian sense that you're going to have a model collapse.
Where are you not a room owner?
Rather, the categories I'm going to use is contingency and necessity. And what I'm going to say is like certain predicates are contingent.
Can I talk again? I didn't finish.
No, because you're a dumbass. You think that like if you reject potentiality, you're just gonna be committed to what you think is actuality. That's not gonna be the case. I don't hold to like an ontological status of potentiality. That doesn't entail there can't be any predicate gain or loss. Because I'm just gonna say if it's logically possible for P to be F, then there is a logically possible world in which P is F. And if that's logically possible, then unless there's something specific about our world, it's logically possible for like a later time for P to be F. And that's all I need to account for change. If it's logically possible for P to be F at like a later time, meaning it doesn't entail a contradiction for P to be F at like a later time, then as time passes by, P could be F. And if P is F, that's accounted for then. Like an earlier time, P wasn't F, and now P is F. And I don't need to posit anything about like a realist notion of potentiality to give that account. It just happens so at one point P isn't F, but later P is F. That's what changes.
Yeah. That's great, man. I'm gonna go to somewhere you're not a mod.
Yeah, run away, faggot.
That's literally running away, dog.
Well, I'm not allowed to speak. This has been.
No, but
proven.
you're
You
like
are
a
allowed to speak. No
subhuman
one's
trash who
muted
doesn't even
you.
know the
Tell
basics
me
of
what I'm
Thomism.
mute.
But you're going around saying I'm a Catholic and atheists are stupid. But you don't even know the basics of your own position. You don't even know anything about Aristotelianism or Thomism. You probably never even read Thomas Aquinas in your entire life. And you're running out saying I'm a Thomist. Oh, it's retarded to be an atheist. You're the retard here. You didn't even know that like potentiality realism is like a precondition for like the Thomistic arguments and the Aristotelian arguments. You're the retard here.
Well, I know
And
that.
you're going
I
around
don't know why
saying,
you
"Oh,
keep
it's
saying I
really."
don't know
You know,
that.
Moxie. When I first met this guy, I went to his room in PNR, and he asked me, "Are you an atheist?" I said yes, and he said, "Oh, that's really, really stupid." And I asked him why. He gave me like the retarded Thomistic argument. I said this argument presupposes like realism of potentiality. He said, "What does that mean?" He didn't even know this like basic fact about potentiality. He's never read Aristotle in his entire life, and is going around like claiming to be like a Thomist.
Well, I have.
Oh, I'm a Catholic.
I mean, this
Thomist.
is what
Oh,
happens when you corner
oh, you know,
someone
being
and
an
always
atheist is
having
like
just high
retarded.
confidence.
Yeah,
and
you are the
back away.
retard. You're the Norwegian retard, and you're like a shame for Norway. It's an embarrassment that I'm Norwegian. This guy's Norwegian. It's like I feel embarrassed by being Norwegian right now. That's how embarrassed I feel, Moxie.
Wait, Hakon, are you Norwegian? I thought you were Dutch.
No, he's
I'm not
Norwegian.
Dutch.
Ah.
This guy's a retard. Like every time this guy tries to run an argument for you, remember this guy didn't even know about potentiality realism. That's how embarrassing this guy is. So don't take anybody who here in the room. Don't think this guy is smart. Like regardless what drops on you, this guy's like a retard.
I'm not saying I'm smart, but I think the argument.
No,
is
but you're
smart.
retarded. I'm saying the strong position that you're retarded. You go around uttering claims
Why are you
you don't
afraid
have
then
the
to
necessary
have a
background
discussion?
for. Because
What do you
I
mean?
won't
You're
go around
literally
saying
trying to back out
theists.
the conversation, right?
I'm not allowed to
I
speak in
wouldn't
this
go around
room.
saying theists are retards if I didn't know like the basicalities of
Right.
like an argument for atheism, or if I hadn't like surveyed like the literature for like theistic arguments. I wouldn't go around saying I'm a retard. If I asked you right now, give me like 3 examples of arguments for atheism in the philosophical literature, you would like freeze. But still, you feel confident enough to go around saying, "Oh, atheism is retarded." That's how stupid you are. You think that like if you hear one argument that like your retarded intuition makes it seem like it's like reasonable, that suffices for you to go around saying atheism is like retarded. That's how stupid you are. If you were actually smart, you'd actually say, okay, this argument seems like reasonable to me, but maybe there's like an equal or more reasonable argument for the opposite position. But you don't have that capability of meta analysis of your own thinking that you could like reach that conclusion. The moment you heard like, oh, this argument sounds convincing, you went around saying atheism is retarded. That's how stupid you are. That's how much of an embarrassment you are. And it's really sad if you think about it. So I want
Well, the
everybody to
problem
remember
with
that
denying
Håkon is a
potentiality-
retard.
I mean, if you
Håkon-
deny potentiality, then
I just
basically
gave you an
change
account.
becomes
I just gave you an
nothing.
account of change that denies potentiality, and you couldn't point out anything wrong with it.
Well, it's not technically anything wrong with it, but it doesn't go deep enough. It doesn't explain.
What does deep enough mean? What does deep enough mean?
Well,
what's
if I could get the argument off the ground.
No, just explain to me what deep enough means. You don't need an argument to explain a concept. What does deep enough mean?
Well, I could say a certain fact about the sun, but I could leave something essential about the sun.
Sorry, what's
in there.
sorry? What's essential? What does essentiality mean? Because I'm not a realist about essentiality either. I don't believe in essentialism.
I could say
Are you-
something
are you
like the sun
sorry, are you
shines, but
presupposing-
not go into like any details about like what the
I'm
sun
not saying
actually
I'm not
is.
I'm not saying the sun shines. I'm saying the reason why you see a light is because
No,
it's
it's not a
because,
because.
like,
You're
you
just
see
saying some
photons
truth
and-
about the thing changed. Like it's very surface level.
no, sorry.
Yeah.
What do you mean by surface level? How is this surface level and potentiality is in surface level?
Well, potentiality like goes into the metaphysics of change instead
Wait,
of
what
just
do you need
saying that
metaphysics
change.
to account for change? What do you need metaphysics to account for change? Why
Well,
is
that's
change a
just
metaphysical notion?
understanding change.
I don't understand change in a metaphysical way.
Yeah, because you're retarded. You just.
Oh, sorry, why is it retarded to understand metaphysics in a non-metaphysical way? Sorry, why is a
to
formal way?
understand-
Why is a
What I
formal
mean.
understanding of change retarded? Go ahead.
Say again.
Why is a formal way of understanding change retarded?
Okay, so now you're saying formal. I mean, that's fine. Formal.
Sorry,
that's-
retard. You just said if you don't understand change as an ontological notion, you're retarded. And I just asked.
No, I'm saying
why
your
is
understanding
change
is
as a
very
logical
surface
notion,
level.
as a formal notion,
Very
not
surface
sufficient to
level.
account for change.
Because you are surface
Why does
level,
change
you
have to
can't-
be a metaphysical notion? And you just, oh, that's fine.
Well,
You
it is.
contradicted
It
yourself
is
in the
by
span of
definition.
1 minute. Who's the
Wait, did
retard
you
here?
call him surface level?
Yeah, very.
He thinks I gave him an account in terms of logic of accounting for change. So change is going to be predicate loss or predicate gain. And he said, "Oh, if you don't understand change as an ontological notion, you're a retard." And then I asked him, I said, "Okay, what's retarded about understanding it on a formal level?" And then he said, "Oh,
Yeah, I
actually,
understand what you
actually,
said, right?
actually, there's nothing wrong with that." He contradicted himself less than 30 seconds. That's
Well,
how
listen, I
stupid
agree
this
with
What
guy
do you mean
is.
by formal? I'm not sure what
I
you meant by
mean,
formal.
Logical notion.
that's kind of
In
interesting.
terms of predication, and logical connectives and propositions and possible world semantics without like making any ontological claims. What's wrong with understanding change that way?
I mean, it would just be again like saying the sun shines without going to any detail of what.
I'm not saying that. No,
is.
saying the sun shines is an ontological notion. What I'm saying is, if it's the case that sun shines at T1, but it doesn't shine at T2, that's what change means. Because
Yeah, very surface level understanding of change.
what do you mean by surface level? What is surface level?
Well, this is like the most surface level you could get. It's just saying, well,
Sorry, what does surface level mean? What does surface level
proposition of a thing changes?
Sorry,
Yeah,
what does
sure.
what does surface level mean?
What does surface level mean?
Yeah, when you say it's surface level, what does that mean?
It's just barely scratching at the top of the issue.
Sorry, why do you think there's something deeper to change?
Because
Besides
I'm a Thomist, obviously, right? So
yeah, but why are you like a retarded Thomist then? What convinced you of
why
Thomism?
are you beating your wife? Like, what are you? This is a retarded
No.
question.
No. There's difference between the two things. What I'm asking you about is what convinced you of Thomism. What you're doing is you giving me a loaded question. I don't beat my wife. So the presumption of the question.
I read the Summa.
Yeah, but no. You've never read the Summa, but that's not what I'm asking you about. What I'm asking about, what I'm trying to show you now is there's a symmetry breaker between the question, why do you beat your wife, and why you're a retarded Thomist. Because in one thing, you're assuming that I'm beating my wife, which is false, because I don't even have a wife. In the other thing, the question just assumes things that you accept as well. You're a Thomist. You weren't Thomist your entire life. There was like a point of time where you accepted Thomism, and I'm just asking you, what made you accept Thomism at that point of time? That's not a stupid question. I'm just asking you what convinced you of Thomism.
You called me a retarded Thomist.
You are a retard because, and I gave you an argument why you're retarded. One, running an argument without knowing the presumptions of the argument is retarded. Two, Håkon ran a Thomistic argument from potentiality without even understanding what potentiality realism is. Conclusion, therefore by modus ponens, Håkon is a retard. So now there's an argument why you're like retarded.
I think I remember our convo.
No, but I just gave you an argument why you're retarded. Now let's go back to the thing. So you're a retard and you're a Thomist. So it's true that you're like a retarded Thomist. Now my question is not about why you're like a retard. That's probably gonna have to do with like how your brain is structured. What I'm asking about is why are you a Thomist? What convinced you of Thomism? I'm not interested as to why you're retarded. I'm interested as to why you're like a Thomist, and that's not a loaded question. Because we both accept that you're a Thomist, and you accepted Thomism at some point in your life. So there's no load there. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Did I disconnect?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Är det till Mikael?
Yes. Yeah.
Kvangstallarna.
Fallenset.
Sorry, who's that talking in the background, Håkon?
Oh yes, I'm gonna go to another room.
Sorry, Håkon, who's that talking in the background? I'm curious. I thought... Oh, he's running away.
That was funny.
1 second, I'm gonna go...
Oh damn, he's gone.